And now, here is your pandemic news report. Welcome back, everybody, to the pandemic news report. And before we get into this pandemic news report, if you will, I want to remind you that we have been letting you guys know about all the attempts that they were making to get vaccines into people. All right. We told you a year or two ago that they were thinking about putting vaccines inside lettuce, the vegetables, considering trying to put it into any type of foods, right? We even let you know that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was sending out warnings that there might be another pandemic on the way. We also reported to you guys that they were trying to even do an air vax, or considering doing air vax, putting the vaccines in the air and letting you just inhale it, right? We even told you that Bill Gates was gearing up for pandemic 2, right? This is not all to scare you. This is to keep you guys informed, because now it's looking like it might get even closer to vaccines becoming a part of your food by way of the vegetables, and maybe even specifically lettuce, like we reported to you a year or two or a little longer than that ago. So Tennessee lawmakers say foods with vaccines will be called drugs. All right. So the talk is even coming, or enhancing even more, if you will. All right. So let's take a look, man, and find out what's going on. All right. So Tennessee moves to classify vaccine lettuce as drugs. That's right. Tennessee moves to classify vaccine lettuce as a drug. All right. A bill that would classify as a drug to certain foods with vaccine materials added to them was passed by the Tennessee Senate, and now awaits Governor Bill Lee's signature into law amid concerns about research on putting immunity boosters into lettuce. My thing is, will other states begin to follow? Will other governors begin to sign similar bills or something exactly the same as Tennessee? So everybody, the Senators are waiting for Governor Bill Lee to sign this thing into law. And if they sign it into law, we'll kind of look at some laws here, or the bills, House bills, in a minute. But if they sign this thing into law, you could probably bet your bottom dollar that you're going to have some lettuce that contains vaccine in it, and you're going to have to start looking at the labels or looking on this thing and looking for the word drug on it. And it's no telling, because they could sneak anything in. They could sneak other vegetables and lace that up with vaccines and don't even tell anybody until people start getting sick again. And I don't know, this might be a thing that causes another incident that was similar to what happened after George Floyd was taken out by Derek Chauvin. Almost the whole world was in an uproar after this, when that happened. So this might be another thing again that might happen if you start tampering with people's food, especially when nobody knows about it, right? So let's continue on. The proposed law, HB 1894, was passed in a 23-6 Senate vote last Thursday after getting the House's green light in a 73-22 vote in early March. It would classify any food that contains a vaccine or vaccine material as a drug under Tennessee law, meaning the food would have to be labeled accordingly. The bill defines vaccine material as a substance intended to, quote, stimulate the production of antibodies and provide immunity against disease. All right. The legislation would not ban vaccine imbued foods from being sold in the state, but would require them to carry the same sort of medical labeling as injectable vaccines or medications. Let's read that one again. The legislation would not ban vaccine imbued foods or vaccine embedded foods, I don't know if it's a typo, from being sold in the state, but require them to carry the same sort of medical labeling as injectable vaccines or medications. All right? So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay? Keep this in mind. So you guys are looking at a picture now of lettuce grows under artificial light in an automated growing rack at a farm in Nottingham, Maryland. This was on April the 14th, 2023. This is a picture of April 14th, 2023. All right, lawmakers of Tennessee have passed a bill that would treat edible vaccines such as those as a drug. All right. So while proponents of the measure cited ongoing research into this method of conveying vaccines and the need to give people the recommended dose of a vaccine, opponents questioned the bill's necessity and whether such foodstuffs would ever be sold alongside their unvaccinated counterparts at grocery stores. And another thing that crosses my mind before we continue is there a possibility for, you know how people use the word cross-contamination? You know, is there a possibility of having lettuce next to other foods, and, you know, could the vaccines kind of slide off of that food onto another? A cross-contamination type situation? It's something to think about. All right? So during a debate on the bill before Thursday's vote, State Senator Heidi Campbell, a Democrat, asked for evidence of any instances of there being food offered in the state of Tennessee that contains vaccines. Speaking of the research, she said that the idea that this would somehow correlate to some kind of retail offering of vegetables, especially when the vegetable would cost many thousands of dollars, just seems to me to be messy to be passing legislation for that reason. Senate advocates of the bill said that they did not know of any specific examples of vaccine imbued foods or embedded foods being sold, but that the bill was to ensure regulations are in place if such sales occur. The bill was to ensure regulations are in place if such sales occur. They also noted relative inexpensiveness in some vaccines and lettuce. State Representative Scott Kopicki, I think that's how you pronounce it, who was a Republican, who originally sponsored the bill, said in February that lettuces containing vaccines would require a prescription to make sure that we know how much of the lettuce you have to eat based off of your body type, so we don't under vaccinate you, which leads to the possibility of the efficacy of the drug being compromised, or we overdose you based off how much lettuce is eaten. All right. A research project funded by A $500,000 federal grant at the University of California is looking into whether pathogen targeting mRNA, like that used in COVID-19 vaccines, could be implemented in the cells of edible plants to replicate and then be consumed. Quote, we are testing this approach with spinach and lettuce. I'm going to say that again. Quote, we are testing this approach with spinach and lettuce and have long-term goals of people growing it in their own gardens. All right. So you're going to have to be aware of, if you want to start growing your own food and you don't want to be taking vaccines with your lettuce and spinach and other vegetables potentially, you're going to have to make sure that you check those seeds before you start growing them in your own garden. All right. So you got to keep that in mind. Juan Pablo Geraldo, an associate professor at the university's Department of Botany and Plant Sciences, who was leading the research, said in 2021, quote, farmers could also eventually grow entire fields of it. The idea of edible vaccines is not new. A 2013 scientific paper noted attempts to put vaccines against various diseases such as measles, hepatitis B, and cholera into foodstuffs like potatoes, bananas, corn, soybeans, and rice. Researchers say that successfully placing vaccines in plants would mean they don't have to be stored at low temperatures, which is the case for many injectable vaccines. All right. So these are some things to be aware of. We reported these things in advance to let you guys know what was going on, and it's still looking like they're pushing for this to happen. So we want you guys to be very vigilant and aware of what you guys are eating. And with anything, there could possibly be things that slip in, quote unquote, accidentally, and then everybody will claim that it was an accident when all along it was intentional. But they're going to try to cover their behinds in Tennessee to some degree, and I'm sure other states are watching this, and they're going to keep an eye on that, and other states might go on and come in and do the same thing, something similar. Okay. So real quick before we get out of here, we're going to go on ahead and pull up one of the bills here. It won't be, I think that's 1894, but there's another one by the same Republican dude, Sapicki. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull that up for you guys to see real quick. All right. Go ahead and pull that up. And let's see where we at. Let's look for that bill. Let's go ahead and pull that bill up. Really quick, fast, in a hurry here. Let's see where we at. Okay. Let's see right quick here. You guys bear with us as we pull this thing up here. Try to locate it. All right. And as we look for it, is HB, the bill is, or the House bill, HB 0032, in case you guys want to look that up. Let me see here. I'm looking at another bill also, which is a Senate bill. Let me see what they're talking about. We're looking at there's a Senate bill also 0088. I don't think that's related, so it will be House Bill 0032. All right, so House Bill 0032. So you guys can start looking that up. All right. Let's see. You guys bear with us. We have a little difficulties getting it pulled up here. And I guess, yeah, when they don't really want you to know anything, they begin to start messing with stuff. All right. But we're gonna get it in. All right, we're gonna get it in. So here we go. We got it together. We're gonna pull that up. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We got it in. So there you guys go. All right, so it is House Bill 0032. All right, and it says taken off notice for Cal and SC Agriculture and Natural Resources Subcommittee of Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, placed on SC Cal Agriculture and Natural Resources Subcommittee. Let's see if we can scroll down here. See if we can find anything else. All right. We're going to look here on the left. And it says food and food products as introduced prohibits manufacture, sale, or delivery, holding, or offering for sale of any food that contains a vaccine or vaccine material unless the food labeling contains a conspicuous notification of the presence of the vaccine or vaccine material in the food. Amends TCA Title 47, Chapter 18, and Title 53. All right, I'm going to read that again. All right, food and food products as introduced prohibits the manufacture, sale, or delivery, holding, or offering for sale of any food that contains a vaccine or vaccine material unless the food labeling contains a conspicuous notification of the presence of the vaccine or vaccine material in the food. All right. So, like we reported, the attempts are still going to be made, and they're going to try to push this, and it looks like they're testing it from state to state. And with a lot of things, they always try to test things out and get the feel and feel people out to see if people start coming in an uproar or get pissed off about it. Then they'll kind of go back to the drawing board and try to figure things out. And meanwhile, they're doing that, scientists are still going to try to figure out and improve on getting that stuff into getting the vaccines into lettuce, spinach. They was talking about bananas, corn. All right, so on and so forth. So, guys, let us know, man. Let us know. Be aware of what's going on. Let us know what you think. Be sure to comment on this. And we're going to keep you guys informed, all right? Tennessee lawmakers say foods with vaccines will be called drugs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Pandemic News Report, and we'll be back again. Peace. And now, here is your Pandemic News Report.